Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Buzz. I'm your host, Gary Johnson. I'm with my co-host, my wonderful co-host, Mr. Marcus Grove, and we are back for another edition of Uplifting Buzz on this fantastic and wonderful Tuesday. This show is presented to you by Buzz Report Media and Uplift Mobile, and we are honored to have you join in and listen to us on today. We have some interesting topics again to talk to you about and bring your way and discuss. But as always, just a reminder, this is a non-biased show where non-biased conversations happen. We do not take sides with one or the other. We're just bringing you the facts and having a clean and non-biased dialogue about what's happening and what's important. So with that being said, let's jump right on into it. And Mr. Grove, how's your day going so far?
It's going pretty good. I actually got to go out and see a lot of the voters at different polling places, and it's been pretty good here in Mobile. We have sunny skies, a little cloudy, but by far is great weather to be voting in this late September month, and I am very hopeful and having a good year coming up with this new mayor, whoever it may be.
Yeah, that's right. Today is election day, runoff elections all across the state of Alabama, in particular right here in Mobile and the Prichard area, where we have two controversial races that's happening right now. And the polls are open. They opened up this morning at 7 o'clock, and they'll be open until tonight at 7 o'clock. And those that may be listening to us live and have not voted, now it's your chance to get out there and go to the polls to vote. If you're at work, please, when you get off, go vote. When you take your lunch break, go vote. And those that are sitting around the house expecting someone to vote for you, let your own voice be heard and go to the polls to vote. Today is election day. And after today, I mean, hey, it's final. You know, it is what it is. So if you want your voice to be heard and have your say in what's going to take place on tonight at 7 o'clock, I encourage you to go ahead and go to the polls and cast your ballots and go vote. Over here in Mobile, we have Barbara Drum, which is a state representative, going up against the former district court judge, Spiro Chirigadis. And then over in Prichard, we have Carletta Davis going up against the incumbent mayor, Jimmy Gardner. And over in Prichard, you also have 3 city council races also on the ballot, and they have to be decided today. And that's District 5, 3, and 4. 3, 5, and 4 is on the ballots over in Prichard. And in Mobile, there's no city council races. But over in Mobile, there is a interesting city council race that Mr. Grove has been following since election day, and that's in District 2. And there have been some interesting happenings in that election since the last time we talked. And I kind of predicted it was going to happen right before the election. And I was kind of predicting that maybe some type of hearing may transpire maybe yesterday, right before the election, but it may happen tomorrow, it may happen this Friday, and we may be on the horizon of a new election for District 2. Who knows? And then it may be just settled, and because it looked like the winner of this race have filed a countersuit challenging that the actual election laws for District 2. This is getting really, really, really interesting. Mr. Grove, you've been following District 2. So what's your take and what's the update?
Well, what we do have is, of course, the complaint that was filed by William Carroll against Samantha Ingram for challenging her win over him in District 2, and the fact that she was not a resident 12 months following or previous to jumping on the ballot for District 2 in Mobile. Since then, of course, we have just an update. The $25,000 bond that has been paid by William Carroll, who's the current and previous District 2 city councilman, that has been paid to challenge Samantha Ingram in the District 2 seat in addition, it took a little while, which was a little interesting for Samantha Ingram to be served. However, she was served, and two attorneys in Mobile did appear uh, as attorneys for uh, Samantha Ingram, and following that, we did have David M. Allen and Wanda Cochran, who is a familiar to the city of Mobile, to appear on as attorneys for Samantha Ingram. And of course, a motion to dismiss was filed, which is common, okay, with most cases. I mean, most cases for anyone who's not in the popular limelight, for anyone, a motion to dismiss will be the first thing to file these days in modern times. And so a motion to dismiss was filed. I think it was interesting that a supporting document or supporting memo swearing under oath by Samantha Ingram saying, hey, I was a candidate or I was a resident rather in the city of Mobile 12 months prior. You know, the swearing under oath with that is important. I think that in her case. And then, of course, the judge set a hearing for this case. And I think that this is it's heating up really fast. And I'm very interested in this race.
Yeah, it seems like it's since she have been served, things are beginning to move speedily. But just a note to take a note. I think it's been 2 weeks since the challenge been filed by Carol, and before she was actually served on this past week. Maybe she was just buying some time to accept that suit that serves, and working on her counter suit and getting in preparation to go to court, and protect her victory for District 2. So it's very interesting how all of this is playing out, and Mr. Kyle Blackman is chiming in as we are live on our social media. So I'm not sure uh, uh, where you chime, maybe Facebook. But Mr. Blackman, I'm trying to get an understanding what you are saying. They play dirty. Come on. I love to play dirty. That's my game. I want to know who you are referring that to. As we was talking about District 2, maybe it's one of the cities council races or mayor races. But talk to us and continue to talk to us and let us know, what you was referring to when you was replying to they playing dirty. Okay, but Mr. Grove, yeah, man. Do you see? I saw something interesting on one of the media on one of the news reports about this District 2 and the municipal elections and the qualifications in regards to the municipal elections with regard to candidates and their residency. According to the state of Alabama laws, the residents must be a resident of the state for 1 year and 1 day. That's my understanding. That's where that 1 year comes in. And on the local level, if such decides to run for the office of city council, they must be in their district for a minimum of 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that's where the confusion have come in with this. I'm not I'm not a legal expert. Don't hold me to none of this. But if she's being challenged on this qualification of being a resident of the district, and we both done our homework to say, well, she bought her property or she been living in the district more than 90 days, back in 2024. That's past 90 days. Do you think she has a liable case to dismiss his suit or because I'm not too familiar with the Zogby Act, and that's what a lot of this stuff I think is pending on is the Zogby Act, and maybe you can enlighten us on the Zogby Act and where this may be headed to outside of the 90-day rule.
Okay. So, the Zogby Act and the 90-day rule in the city council race has and plays an important part in the city of Mobile. Okay, we must understand where this comes from. I mean, the Zogby's family, the Zogby family, which is a part of what the Zogby Act come from, has a distinct history in Lower Alabama or the city of Mobile, and it's actually pretty interesting that one of the attorneys for William Carroll last name is Zogby, right? He's of that Zogby family, that prestigious Zogby family that have in the past have rulings and have had interesting dealings in Zogby. If you have children or have had children in the last 20, 30 years in public school system, then you know of having to buy school uniforms, right? From the Zogby clothing store, So all of that in itself, when it comes down to the Zogby family, plays into in the importance of having to be aligned with the Zogby Act. Okay, I just want to make that aware that the Zogby family, the Zogby Act, all of those have important ties. But leading into this case right here with Samantha Ingram, William Carroll, and of course we have um, the previous individual who filed a case against Samantha Ingram, um, those that Zogby Act has come up many, many, many times. Okay, and I think that in a way it's important to understand with this case. Okay. Now, the Zogby Act is, in effect, something that does go into talking about the city of Mobile and the Voting Rights Act and a lot of different things. But as far as the state of Alabama goes, okay, as far as the state of Alabama goes, the Zogby Act directly contradicts a lot of what goes into the prehistoric laws that have already been antiquated in the state law in the state of Alabama. In the state of Alabama, as a city councilman, you have to be 90 days and 1 day that you have to be a resident of the city of Mobile. Okay. That's something that you can find on the Alabama Secretary of State qualification for public office website, that it is a 90-day rule. Okay. Now, when you look at the Zogby Act that was signed into law in the past, that also sponsored by uh, city councilmen that's sitting there now, such as President C.J. Smalls, City Council Member William Carroll, have also utilized when investigating the Paul Prine issue back in 2024. We have to understand that even the Zogby Act was referenced, even in that case, in dealing with administratively dismissing this chief of police, Paul Prine, in the case of lack of desire by the Mayor Stimson to keep him on board because of various reasons. The Zogby Act was purposefully, intentionally, and deliberately brought about many, many times Okay. And so we have to understand and question, okay, first of all, for many viewers, what is the Zogby?
Mm.
That's just a question that I think that a lot of people don't understand. I think that for people like William Carroll, maybe he understands it a little bit more, or people that that contested the race in the District 2 maybe understand a little bit more. But we have to understand as a city what the Zogby Act actually entails. And in my knowledge, it directly refutes or contradicts what the state level requirements would be. The state level requirements for a city council is 90 days, period. You can find that on the website of the state of Alabama, Secretary of State. And so, you know, I've looked on Lanyap website, I've looked on many different sources, and you know, the Zogby Act, like many laws, is still vague in a lot of ways. But let's get
Hmm.
down to what the Zogby Act really is. And so, what the Zogby Act really is, I think that we need to just divert to maybe a break and just revert back to some understanding on our understanding on what the Zogby Act is, what it introduces, and what it means for Samantha Ingram. Although it was passed in 1985, what does the Zogby Act mean for the current time?
Right, right, right. Okay. Well, we're gonna take a break right here, and we'll be right back on the other side of this break. And remember that Uplift and Buzz podcast is brought to you by Uplift Mobile at www.uplift-mobile.com. Also by Buzz Report Media at buzzreportnews.com with your hosts, Gary Johnson and Marcus Grove. We'll be right back after
It's now time to dive into.
All right, we're glad to be back, and hope you're enjoying the podcast on the day with your host, Gary Johnson, and my co-host, Mr. Marcus Grove of Uplift Mobile. Uplift Mobile brings a lot of entertainment, a lot of news happening around the West Coast. A lot of interesting articles and content on this website that you can go and visit anytime and be updated on what's happening in our community and what's going on at uplift-mobile.com, and you'll be able to see what's happening on Uplift Buzz, and also on the Buzz Report. We bring you all the latest news happening, whether it's crime, whatever's breaking news is happening right here on BuzzReportNews.com. So you get a chance to hop on over there and make sure you visit our websites and be updated, be informed, and be inspired about things that are happening in our community. Now, Mr. Grove, to pick it back up where we left off talking about the Zogby Act, and you can finish updating us and bring us up to date about that Zogby Act. Okay, we may have lost Mr. Grove and back pretty shortly. Okay, all right. So what we're discussing here on the podcast that District 2 is being election legal challenge, and it's in the courts, and as we know, the city council and the city council in Columbia, Mr. William Carroll, has filed a challenge to the election results of the winner, Miss Samantha Ingram, challenging her for that seat and her residency, saying that she was illegal and not qualified to run for that seat. And there's a challenge in the court. He paid a $25,000 bond to proceed with this challenge. And we all been waiting, as well as he has, and the court has been waiting for Samantha Ingram to be served in this case, and that she had finally been served the last part of this past week. And now the case can move forward in front of Judge Hambright whenever she set that court hearing date. So that should be coming up pretty soon, maybe later on this week or maybe early next week or later next week. And there may be a possibility that she may rule in favor of Mr. Carroll and a new election may be held, and then she may rule in favor of Ingram and dismiss the case and deem it as, eligible to stand. And there's no disqualification. But this is a race that we have to remain that remains to be seen of what's going to happen in this race. And there's no doubt that Mr. William Carroll is fighting for his seat. As I reminded you earlier that this is election day, and if you have not voted, you still have plenty of time to get out and go vote. Take somebody to the polls with you, and to go vote. Go vote. And don't go alone. Take somebody, whether you're in Prichard, whether you're in Mobile, over in Baldwin County, have some races on the ballot. Like over in Daphne, Orange Beach. Gulf Shores, I think that is down there. Jackson, Alabama has a really good mayor race going on up in Jackson, Alabama. Greenville, young black man, young city councilman there running for mayor in a runoff. There's a lot of races that's going around in the state of Alabama right now. And wherever you may be listening to us from, get out, go vote. That's all. It's just simple. Go vote. You know, like Mr. Grove had made an interesting statement last week. It only takes about less than 5 minutes to go in there, mark who you're voting for, put it in the machine, get your sticker, and come on out. It's just simple. Just have your ID in your hand and just show it when you go in, tell them your name. They're going to mark you off, and you go vote. And also just remember that anything that arises inside of that polling place that challenges you as a voter, you have a right to ask for a provisional ballot and you still vote, and then let those election officials handle your ballot and the discrepancies of what maybe is going on at a later date at appropriate time. And like I say, we already know what happened in Prichard. Though provisional ballots do count, and it can come down to a simple vote and declare the winner. So go vote. Make your voice heard by casting the ballot. So, Mr. Grove, I'm going to let you pick it back up for the remaining few minutes of this show to talk about, that Zogby Act and anything else that you want to share with us.
Yeah, so the Zogby Act in 1985 explicitly made it mandatory for anyone who's seeking office that they reside in the state of Alabama for 1 year. And that's mostly for mayors. City council men and women have to stay in their districts for 90 days. That was 1985. Okay. Now, the 2012 general election law is what Samantha Ingram is writing on. The general election law in 2012 implicitly, not explicitly, but implicitly repealed the Zogby Act requirements, stating that basically the 90-day rule seeking office was the premise behind everything, not the 1 year requirement. And so what Samantha Ingram is writing on is that all she had to do was stay in Mobile for 90 days. She did not have to stay in Alabama for 12 months. And so that is the premise is what she's going on. And that is the contradiction between the 2012 general election law that was passed by the legislature in the state of Alabama versus the Zogby Act, which was passed by, citizens in the city of Mobile. So what she's writing on is the fact that the Zogby Act is null and void due to the general election law passed in 2012. And Brandy Hambright has set a hearing for October 15th at 10 a.m. to hear the case on Samantha Ingram's motion to dismiss based on the fact that the general election law voids the Zogby Act entirely. And what William Carroll is going on is the fact that the Zogby Act is and has been uh, uh, a motivating factor in the fact that Samantha Ingram have had to stay in the state of Alabama for a year and her district for 90 days, which based upon her decision to go with the general election law and say that, hey, the Zogby Act requirements didn't require me to stay in the state of Alabama for 12 months. It pretty much says that, hey, I was not a resident in the state of Alabama for 12 months, and I know that. So, but basically what I'm saying is that the Zogby Act didn't require me to stay past 90 days. So if that was the case, then yeah, she could win on the fact that she was not a resident for 12 months, but she was for 90 days. Because the motivating factor in the whole case is that she voted in Georgia in the past 12 months. So there's no issue with her have voted in prior to the 90-day requirement of her electing to jump on the ballot in, I think, June or May or June, the deadline to jump on the ballot. So what she's going off of, and her two lawyers or her two attorneys, is the fact that the Zogby Act is void in this case.
Right.
It does not merit due to the general election law that was passed by legislature in 2012. So she's going a little bit outside the bounds, probably a little bit different than William Carroll and his attorneys would have initially thought. Instead of fighting the whole 1 year requirement, they're saying that the Zogby Act does not hold merit due to a 2012 general election law that was signed by the legislature in the state.
Wow. And
October 15th being a significant time prior to the November, I think you said November would be the time for the inauguration of the city councilmen and women and the mayor. Right. So October 15th being prior to that, Judge Hambright could pretty much dismiss this case. But at the same time, I don't see that happening due to the fact that obviously the Zogby Act and the general election law are in contention with each other, and they need to be hashed out. For a judge in the city of Mobile to outright do away with the Zogby Act based on an order from the court, from a lower court, from a judicial court, it could be appealed from any side, either from William Carroll or Samantha Ingram. They could both see fault in it, and it would have to go to appeals court. So this is a tough time with the legislature and judicial branches colliding with each other.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, it's a race that remains to watch. Because, like I said, every other day or at least once a week, something is developing in this matter, and we are anxious to see what's going to take place. But yeah, I'm just wondering about this 90-day thing. If the 90-day rule is the center point now, I don't see this election being dismissed.
Yeah.
Now, if there is something outside of the 90-day rule that we don't know anything about or we may overlook, then that may be a hearing, and the judge may rule partially in both favor. I don't know. We don't know how this may go. But we know that Samantha have had her property for quite some time now, and we know that she won her recent election for District 2 and by a big margin. Without a runoff, and so we know that people have spoken. We know that William Carroll don't like the results. He didn't want to lose his seat. We know that he's fighting for his seat. We know he filed a challenge, and we know that he paid his $25,000 to have the case before a judge, which is a security bond. So it's up to the judge now. It's up to them to go in and argue before the judge, present their case, defend themselves, and the judge make the final ruling. Like you said, if one side don't like the ruling, then one side or the other can appeal, and it goes to the next step.
Yes.
And that could be a process. That could be a whole nother process. But the ones that's going to be hurting out of this the most are the citizens of District 2. And I said a couple weeks ago, they will be ones without a representative on the city council. Now, the big question would be, would Mobile proceed to swear Ms. Ingram in temporarily because she won the seat? And while until the illegal battles play out, or would the judge issue some type of order leaving the seat open until an order has been reached in the case? Mm-hmm. I mean, all of this remains to be seen. I mean, what's really going to happen, because we don't know. We don't know. And like I said, the people of District 2, the citizens of District 2, is the ones that's going to be hurting behind all of this, because they won't have a representative on the important things that's going on in City Hall, or getting their trash picked up, or ditches cleaned, and so forth. Because they don't have a representative downtown. And I'm pretty sure somebody will fill in to assist, but every district needs their own voice.
Right. I think it's interesting that Mary Zogby, who authored the Zogby Act in the 80s, passed away at the age of 91 earlier this year in April. Now, she actually went against Chris Pringle back in the 90s and lost, but she was the author of the Zogby Act, and of course related to the Zogbys here in Mobile. I think that for an attorney to be representing William Carroll, who also last name is Zogby, from the famous Zogby family, is important in this case with the Zogby Act in contention with a state law. Now, the Zogby Act, of course, is a Mobile City Council law. And I think, in this case, I mean, if I was a head of the city council, if I was in the city of Mobile, especially in the deep South, I would want to vie for or be on the side of a city law versus a state law, because that's something that can happen. The state set precedent, and the city can not necessarily go against it, but can enhance the precedent that has been set. And all that has been set is an enhanced precedent, which the Zogby Act committed with, instead of, saying, hey, 90 days is the determining factor. It's also a 1 year requirement. So that's what the Zogby Act presents, is a 1 year requirement versus just a 90-day in the city council. And so what Samantha Ingram and her attorneys are saying is that forget about the Zogby Act. The general election law that was signed in 2012 dominates city law, state law rules. And I think that it's evident that, we as Mobilians have to understand that city law is important. And I think it's also interesting that Ingram wants to go against city law in her favor. Samantha Ingram wants to go against city law in her favor in this case. And I think that that's important to understand, that we have someone who is coming into this space that wants to go against city law for state law. And as Mobilians, which one are you in favor of? State law, city law, 1986 versus 2012? It's up to you to decide, but at the same time, it's up to Judge Hambright to decide as well.
And you're right, and you're absolutely right. And she will make that. She'll have that hearing, set that hearing date, and make that ruling here soon. And I think they may be just all waiting for this date to be over to move on to the next subject. And I got a feeling it's going to come very, very shortly. And we'll know where this is headed. As we wind this show down for today, Mr. Grove, we want to touch back on Election Day, and we know in the general election record, there was low record voter turnout. I mean, very low turnout. And our own African Americans, they didn't even bother to even get to the polls to vote. How important is voting today in these last 8, maybe 6, 7 hours left? How important is that to get out to vote today?
Well, it's extremely important. And honestly, everybody always are saying, get out and vote, get out and vote, get out and vote. Yeah, because that's important. It doesn't matter necessarily who you vote for in this case. It's more so in you displaying your own desire for whoever you desire to be voted in. In my experience today going out to vote, I'm 37 and I was the youngest person in the room. I was the youngest person in the room. It was no other person that was younger than I am that were in attendance to vote. And me being in District 7, you do have a lot of, older people in this district, but at the same time, you do have people in this district who are younger than I am who's just not in attendance. I think that that's going to be prevalent in every single district in the city of Mobile. You're going to have people all over that are just not going to get out of their bed and go vote. They're going to make an excuse to do something else, then go out there and vote. And I say shame on you for those individuals who are not going to get out of their bed, get out of their houses and go vote for 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of their day, 30 minutes tops
right
out of the day. I say shame on you who are just not going to attend and do their civic duty. That is a shameful act that, in my opinion, I would say for here on out, for those of you who don't go vote today, I would say just be quiet. The best thing to do is to be quiet. Don't express your say-so in any type of form or fashion when anything happens that you don't agree with, because you didn't express it on today when you have free will, free ability, inviting environments where you can go express yourself through an act of voting. Don't say anything. If you get pulled over and the police are hammering you for something that you feel that they shouldn't in the future, in a couple of months' time, if something happens where you don't like in the city and you didn't go vote on today, don't say anything. The best thing would be is just to go home and twiddle your fingers and don't say anything, because you didn't say anything today.
You're right. And for the last word, man, I just hope that you all will take heed and watch the political and pay attention to the political climate and the heat that's out there and what's happening and the attack that's on certain communities and certain individuals, and coming from the national standpoint, and it's affecting us locally. And know who's trying to get into these offices, and what the replication would be if they do get into office, and how it will affect our daily lives. Voting is important, so you have a chance to get out. If you're registered to vote, that's a right. Many fought forward, and for our voices to be heard through voting. So you have a chance to go out there and make a difference in your community, make your voice heard by going out to the polls to vote. Get out, take somebody with you. This has been another episode of Uplifting Buzz Podcast. Until we talk again on Thursday, be blessed.